encore malade? Oh, I missed you guys too. So, bonjour, monsieur.
Bonjour, monsieur.
So thanks for being patient with all of my absences Friday and Tuesday and Wednesday, and so babies are still sick. Little baby is probably like last year's baby, pregnancy baby, is probably just has a cold. And he's been so Jordan's gonna talk to you about French stuff. Cool?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, in this class I usually just sit on a desk. If you want to stand, sit, whatever.
Okay.
Do what you want.
Well, I'll do whatever. Yeah, so I met her right after I studied abroad a year, my sophomore year of college. I went to Cal State Long Beach, and...
That you are actually allowed to go to the French program. CSUN is a no, right? Remember? Don't go to CSUN for French. Long Beach is a yes.
Oh, really? Why is that?
It's fair.
Oh, yeah.
But Long Beach and UCLA are yeses for French. So go to Long Beach if you want to study more French.
I didn't know that. See, I didn't have a major. I was a film major, and I still do film stuff, but you can't start film at a school like that until your junior year because the major is impacted. So I was like, this is stupid. So I tried to get out of there as best, whatever way I could, and I saw a study abroad office, and it said you only need 1 semester of these languages to go. So my options were France, Mexico, Germany, or China. And at the time, I was, the only thing I knew about the world was like what I learned in Mod Civ, like in high school, history classes. So yeah, I chose France. Looking back on it, I think I chose France because of like Disney movies. I always really liked the Aristocats, and that's in France. I think Beauty and the Beast is in France too, and I'm sure, and Hunchback of Notre Dame, and I'm sure plenty more. Daft Punk is from France. So there are just like these little things that I think subconsciously made me choose France. Honestly, like a year later when I thought about it, like China would have been so cool to go to China for a year as a student. Germany would have been neat, and Mexico would have been cool too. But for some reason I chose France. So I took 1 semester of France at Cal State Long Beach, and then the next year I was gone. And I learned the whole language. I went to an institute for foreigners, and I had 2 semesters under my belt. I did 1 at COC before going. And honestly, they hardly helped me at all. I could have started from 0 where I was, and I still would have ended up at the same place. It was just like one big party. Like going to Europe, Western Europe, you'll see that most places in the world are a lot more relaxed than here. And you guys are only in high school, so you don't even know what that means, but this place is pretty uptight. It's really uptight, especially the education. So, we would drink wine with our teachers. That was like no big thing. We lived in a small town, so like the teachers would like see us out and about and go, oh, come have a beer with us. So we're like, okay. And just a very more relaxed culture, like smoke breaks, because they all still smoke cigarettes. And it was really life-changing because I had no idea things operated so differently. And along that whole time, they taught us French like kindergartners. We would be in there, and she's up there basically going like, I go to the store. I go to the store. And they didn't speak English. They weren't supposed to know any English. So they only spoke to us in French. It's talking like that. I like ice cream. I like ice cream. And just responding with these very, very, very simple things. And we're these college students trying to get all philosophical. And yeah, it was a good time. But basically, I've been traveling ever since. French always comes up. There's French travelers all over the world. People always need lessons in French for some reason. A lot of Africa still speaks French. There's a lot of that there. I've spent time in New Orleans and in Montreal, and there's still French there. It's kind of surprising, but French does still really exist in the world, and it's always a lot of fun to speak it. Because especially when you meet French people that their English is pretty good, but they much prefer to speak French. And I always think it's fun. So I'm pretty much just going to open the floor, because I could talk about whatever today and have no idea if it's interesting to you guys or not. So if you have any questions, just throw them at me. My whole thing is to encourage people to travel. Studying abroad is a great way. So any questions you may have. Are you guys seniors, juniors, sophomores?
Sophomore, junior, and senior.
Yeah, and is AP like the end of the road here?
Yeah, this is French 3.
This is French 3.
Yeah, it's just
Okay.
a super small French 3 class. AP is district-wide right now, so that means that there were only ever like 2 to 3 AP students at every site.
Yeah.
So now they meet like a college class afternoons twice a week.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So after French 3, is there any more here at school? Is there 4?
We might host the AP class next year. This year it's at Canyon. We'll see. Yes, yes, yes. I'll try.
I won't take it if you're not doing it.
What is it you like about it?
She's the best.
She's the best?
Wait,
Why is she the
no, no,
best?
I'm not here to talk about me.
I just want it here because it makes it easier. I don't have to go anywhere.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So you guys all wrote questions as homework, yeah?
Totally.
Totally remember that this was happening, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was here yesterday to remind you and everything.
How's that
What's
Instagram?
instructive to you?
I
I know, I love that. Suivez-moi.
Suivez-moi.
That's like modern education right there.
Right?
Follow your teachers on.
I tried.
Are you on Snapchat too?
I'm experimenting with Snapchat, but
Yeah.
it doesn't really help me for like homework posting and stuff. Because with the Instagram, I can be like, oh, check out yesterday's Instagram. With Snapchat, it doesn't, like, it deletes them, so it's not really helpful to look back on. I'm an Instagram fan. I'm not sure about Snapchat for education.
Yeah. For education.
We'll see. Just answers. Answers to the test for 1 second. That's cool. So some of you had questions.
Yeah, she showed us a video where you were like, you made a film and you had that thing on your head.
Yeah.
You went to Nepal.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's a camera. And then you were at Nepal when the earthquake happened.
Yeah.
How was that?
Crazy. Pretty crazy. That's like one of the poorest countries in the world, not outside of like most of Africa. It's the most like corrupt government. So it's naturally one of the poorest countries in the world. Like the people are, not necessarily like the tax flow, but so after the earthquake, there was like no organization. Like I don't know if you guys are too young to remember Hurricane Katrina, but I think I was a senior in high school when that happened. But like when natural disasters happen here, like, you know, we have a government that's pretty quick to respond. There are resources, organizations, foundations in place to go help and to get people involved to go help, to get the resources there. And there's kind of no room, for lack of a better term, for bullshit. So in most other countries, how the world goes, excuse my French, in most other countries as far as the world goes, there's a lot more room for bad things to happen in between people that want to help and the actual help being done. So there are, I think, still billions of dollars provided by a global community that the Nepali people have not seen. And it's been almost a year, an earthquake was building. So when I was there at the time, it was just like a mad struggle, and there was just like this chaotic energy in the air that was really kind of stressful. But it made for a great movie, and I think you guys saw the trailer for it, and I'm finishing that right now. Yeah.
What were you originally there for before?
I was making a movie about singing bowls,
Okay.
which are these like metal bowls. They're like forged together from like 7 different metals, and they're really cool, like musical instruments. You could have a set of them, and they're like bells, and they make different sounds. But when you play them like with a mallet around the rim, they start singing, and they get louder and louder and louder, and they're really neat. And I was curious about them because they like sell them in stores and stuff here, and like yoga studios like them, but no one knew anything about them. Wikipedia knew nothing, the internet knew nothing. So I was like, well, I'm gonna go over there and see if I can learn like the history of it, because I was just curious. And yeah, what I learned is in the movie. But basically, yeah, then the earthquake happened, and it kind of shifted the whole focus of the whole project. But that's why I was originally there, for research, location-specific research. Is anyone curious about studying abroad in France or something? Yeah, just in general. And so this is French 3, and so ideally you would take AP French next year. Is that it?
Don't shake your head there.
Not ideally for me.
Okay. Yes, ideally they would take AP next year.
A lot of people I studied with there for that year, they were like juniors in college and they hadn't taken any French since high school, and they were fine. But it helps to have that momentum. So like I was getting there after like 2 semesters here in Santa Clarita, or 1 in Long Beach, 1 at COC. But the momentum really helps. So if you do look at doing something like that, just like keep writing it out. Like just try to keep going with it. Because even if it's stuff you already know, like grammatical structures, this and that, vocabulary will never end. You'll never stop learning vocabulary, even in English, right? Like the language expands. And French, and especially France's history with the language of French, has really cool stuff going on in its poetry, in its art, in its literature. So when I came back to Long Beach to finish my degree, I finished it in French because they gave me so many units for studying abroad, it wasn't fair. Like I was just over there messing around, more or less, yet learning a lot, but when you're having fun, you don't really realize how much you're learning, you know? So I was just having fun. I came back and they gave me the equivalent of almost a year and a half worth of French credits, which was like unheard of. So I said, okay, I'll finish my degree in French. So I got my degree in French and French literature. But it's fun to read French literature. I don't know how to explain it, but it's fun. And when it becomes comfortable to read it, it's like a whole new way of interpreting a story that someone has written down for you. I know that sounds kind of weird, coming from being in high school and having to read stuff for English and homework, but it gets kind of fun when it's in a different language that's not yours, but it's no longer like baby talk, where it's actually like real concepts, real stuff going on. So I encourage you all to keep moving forward with it. And movies, I don't know if you guys watch any French movies in here, but they're always pretty good. It's not like in America where there's a big budget in Hollywood to make like blockbusters that are like superhero movies that don't have a lot of substance. Like in France, they have like, they're very strict about their money that goes towards films, and so they have to be good. And so there's not as many films that are produced, obviously, but most of the time they're done with a lot of quality. And you can continue learning the language in there. You can even have subtitles on the screen, and that's fun. There's a lot of cool music from France, not just electronic music, but in bands. And what's that?
Yeah, we do a music video every Monday.
Oh yeah? What was
Of
yesterday?
a French this week, what did we watch?
It was Zach.
Oh, it was Zaz.
Everything.
Zaz, Jamais J'oublie.
Okay.
Yeah. So I try to keep up with what's like out right
Oh,
now, like
really?
French Top 40.
Okay. Oh,
But
really?
so much of but so much of French Top 40 is English songs.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the other ones are like Stromae, and even though Papa Ute works, the rest of them I'm like, okay, I'll read some of the lyrics, and I'm like, all right, well, they probably won't know what it means. It'll be okay. Let's look at the music video. Nope.
No,
Well,
okay.
nope, not school appropriate music videos. So I try. Not all of it is very modern. Like Zaz is a little bit like lower on the scale, but
I
that's good
think
stuff.
there's a, I don't know if it's a law, but it's a regulation in France that says 6 out of 10 songs on the radio have to be from
Yep.
French artists.
Yep.
So
60% of French radio has to be French.
is it
artists.
6 out of 10?
Yeah.
They have to be French artists. But in a globalized economy and globalized entertainment, that doesn't make a lot of sense. So a lot of French artists, they just sing in English.
Yeah.
So they could be a part of a bigger world. Because it's like more hip. Like, especially back in the day, like, you know, the free box? There's like way back when, the first internet provider was called Free in English, F-R-E-E, and it wasn't free. But the reason they called it that was just because it was like hip to call something in English. So it's called the free box, and you know, it's just like you get now, or maybe not now, but it's a hard drive connected with your TV and with your Wi-Fi, this and that. But it was called free because that's what was hip when they started it, and they still do that. I guess they think it's kind of more provincial or something when it's in French. So then they want to be more like worldly. A lot has changed there over the last few hundred years. Yeah.
What kind of French artists do you recommend?
To listen to?
Yeah.
I love French house. So French house music, what's that song? Check out Be Good by Galactic Nights. Galactique. There's no words. It's just a song. You put it on.
Oh, okay. Galactic Nights?
Galactic with a K, like Galactique Nights. And then I think it's, pretty sure it's just nights.
Nights like
nighttime.
Chevalier or nights like
No,
la nuit?
like la nuit.
Oh, okay.
Right. Yeah. And I think it's called Be Good.
I heard Galactic Nuit.
Oh, my brain.
Yeah.
Galactic Night.
But yeah, French house, like Daft Punk would be considered French house, and they changed the world. Daft Punk literally changed the world. And a lot of things in France have changed the world. The American Revolution would not have happened without the French Revolution. I don't know how much of European history you guys know in recent times, but, and they supported the American, I don't know if it was a revolution, the War of Secession, right? The French supported a lot of that. Mainly because they liked our tobacco. I learned this recently. Benjamin Franklin went over as a rep for the US saying we need money to fight the British, the Redcoats, and offered, I think, something like literally 1 million pounds of North American tobacco in exchange for the French support. Little known fact. 1 million pounds of North American tobacco. And the French liked their tobacco, so they said okay. But yeah, that's about all I got for you. So if you got something to ask me or talk about.
I remember some of your questions from Monday when we discussed that, so I'll call you out. You don't ask them.
Do you usually backpack, or like, what do you do when you travel?
It's generally a lot of backpacking. It's evolving now that I'm getting older. In my early 20s, it was just a lot of backpacking, like whatever. The last time I was in Europe, I hitchhiked with my accordion, which is in that box. It was a different accordion, but I hitchhiked with an accordion. Sorry?
Do it. Like,
Yeah, that's right. Let's see what happens. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I learned a lot of accordion in France. We do a lot of waltz, like 3/4 timing stuff, and like the Amélie soundtrack, Jens Hirsch stuff. But yeah, so backpack with a musical instrument. But lately I'm doing a lot of filmmaking, like really guerrilla mobile filmmaking. So it's still with a backpack, just like less and less clothes, more and more like little filmmaking equipments, things, like a camera, microphone, computer, lights.
Backpacking, like you stay in hostels and backpack between them, or backpacking like
Both, actually.
camping?
Yeah, I
or
mean, generally I'm set up to
park
stay at
bench?
hostels.
Okay.
I'll do what's called couch surfing. So people, you make a profile and offer your couch to travelers, or you make a profile looking for couches as a traveler, and that's what I've been doing for 10 years now, like making friends and staying with people. I've never once had an issue. I had 2 people stay with me the other night, actually. It was a lot of fun. It's just a free way to travel. And it's not even about it being free, it's just so much more fun. Like even now when I go on vacations with my family or something, it's just so limited. We just go, stay in a hotel, and then like that's it. This way, like go somewhere alone or with a friend, and then make a new friend, and then we get to see their life and like what they do in this place, and it's really
Vacation
cool.
places.
So I'm really geared up for that. I was in Europe in 2012, 2013, and that was like before there was Wi-Fi everywhere. And believe it or not, in other places in the world, this whole unlimited data thing is not a thing. And even like data as we know it on our phones is not a thing. Like we have service everywhere in California. It's crazy. Maybe not everywhere, but we have service like LTE, 4G, like everywhere. And so that is like not a thing. And especially 2012, that was not a thing. So I had like one of the first iPhones, and I was just hitchhiking around because I didn't want to have any plans. But every city I would end up in, I would go on couch surfing on my little phone, just for whichever cafe had free Wi-Fi, I'd get a little coffee. And then I would send out messages to random people in the city going, hey, I'm hitchhiking you, do you want to host me? Every time I found somewhere to stay. Like that day, like within a few hours. Every single time. And the musical instrument helped.
less threatening.
Yeah, totally. Especially when you're like hitchhiking and you're playing the accordion. And everyone's like, oh, he's playing the accordion. Come on. You can't be a bad
Too
guy.
bad.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that with my musical instrument.
Yeah, you
What is your
Check with your
instrument?
Tuba.
Yeah, that would be
No,
tough.
it's a little-
Yeah. I was in Nepal with a trumpet. Oh, you saw the,
Oh, yeah,
the-
I saw
yeah,
that.
or a cornet rather.
Yeah.
That was fun too. That was better for Nepal because that was like a whoa to them, and it was smaller. I could travel with it easier.
Yeah.
Accordion was cool in Europe because it's even still kind of a novelty there, even though there's more accordion players per capita compared to the U.S. But
Little known fact.
it's more old people that play it. Yeah. But yeah, backpacking. I'm always geared to stay at houses. I would never stay at hostels or hotels. I'll sleep on park benches. But not even park benches. I'll sleep on the park floor on the grass, like, or on a hill.
Or at the beach.
There was one time I was in Serbia, outside of Belgrade, and I was trying to hitchhike out, and it was just like a really slow hitchhiking day, and it was hot, and I made it outside the city to like this gas station, and like gas stations are great to hitchhike at because you can just go up, go, hey, excuse me, do you speak English? Yeah, I'm going north. Do you want some company, or can I get a ride? And like a lot of the times that like it's easier than putting your thumb out or holding a sign because they can see you're a human, you talk to them, and you know, at that point it's pretty cool. He was like, yeah, sure, get in the car. But this time there was no one even stopping for gas. So I'm like hanging out at this gas station and it gets dark. And once it gets dark, it's over. Like no point in asking and no point in accepting just because things get sketchy at night. Not necessarily, but it's just a good like code of conduct. And so I hiked up like kind of behind the gas station to find somewhere to sleep. And did I have a sleeping bag? I think I had a sleeping bag at this point. But there was just like this field, and I could overlook the whole city from like up on this hill on this field. It was like a full moon. The stars are all bright, and like and you hear the crickets. It was like the most relaxing thing ever. You couldn't have planned it. I couldn't have planned a camping trip to have that much perfection in an evening where I had to like sleep outside. And I woke up feeling great, and then like I found a ride right away. And it was awesome. But what I'm getting at is what I learned on that trip is like, it's cool to kind of not know, because a lot of times when you don't know, something better than you could have even imagined by knowing happens. So in the same sense, a lot of times people that were driving me would hear my story. You don't know where you're staying tonight? I'm like, no, but it's all good. We'll figure it out. Like, oh, you can stay with me if you want. You can stay on my couch. I'm like, all right. So we stay, or we hang out, I meet their friends, like they'll cook me dinner, they'll give me all this stuff because I don't want a budget. I'm like, all right, cool. And make new friends. So, yeah, those are kind of like my nostalgic memories of Europe. A lot of people talk about going on a Europe trip after high school. Like, do it. I want a backpacking trip. You know, and you don't have to sleep outside. You don't have to YOLO it like me. You can actually stay at hostels and, you know, pay money. It'll just cost a bit more. But,
Yeah, that's what, I never planned anything. I just had the plane flight there and home. So I knew where I needed to start and end.
yeah.
On what dates. And then just went from there. We stayed at hostels, but we only planned like a day or two in advance. And like, okay, where do we want to go from here? Go to the next place. All right, well, stay there, but start looking for like, where should we go from here? And that's just a way cooler environment because you meet people. It's all about like meeting people at the hostel. It gets tiresome, like for the 15th night in a row having the same conversation. What's your name? Where are you from?
How long you been traveling?
How long you been traveling? Where have you been so far? Where are you going next? Oh, cool, I'm actually going there next. And you've already been there. Where should I stay? All right, cool. Bye, we're going to sleep. Or let's go downstairs and grab a beer at the bar. And
Yeah.
Because every hostel practically has a bar.
Yeah, and a lot of hostel goers like to drink a lot. And that's the other thing is like, there's like a good era for that, I think, in everyone's life, where you're social and you go out and you this and that. But like at a certain point you grow out of it. Like, so I grew out of it, and it's just, I can't stay at a hostel because everyone wants to party and go out. I just want to be alone. You know, relax, read a book, study French.
Yeah. Yeah, the hostel partying, see, that's what led to the story with me and my cousin and almost going home.
What's that story?
So we'll not be staying at a hostel.
We will not be staying in hostels.
Party.
Sorry. We're
Oh,
doing
that's
a,
right. Are you guys all going? Or how many of you guys
Not
are
all.
going?
It's like half of this class and like a few of the French twos.
Oh, that's
I'm taking
sweet.
a group of 18, and it's an organized tour. Just like taking it easy this
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
liability and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, hopefully we'll have some time to break away and like do the fun things that I know in those areas. But
You guys are still young. You have plenty of time
Yeah.
for adventure. This
and
is
I
your
keep
first
telling you, I
step.
mean, the trip that we go on, or the stories that you hear from me, this should just spark an idea in you to go out and travel on your own, doing your own thing. Organized tours are not the way to see the world. It's by going hostels, unplanned, couch surfing, whatever. Like that's
Yeah.
how you actually meet authentic people and see the area for what it is. It's not from a tour bus.
I'm glad you're preaching that.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
a good message. And it's true, and I think a lot of people that if you truly have a desire to like see the world and like get to know things outside of your own comfort zone, you'll realize that early on. And it's good to know in advance, but at the same time you have to experience every aspect of it. You have to start somewhere. And so it's good to start organized on a tour bus. Like do it once. Like you don't ever have to do it again. But do it once for sure so you know what it's like. You know, and like on the other end of things, like I don't know how, you know, much I want to not scare you, but like when you get into adventure mode, a lot more things like fly, like stuff you never really would have imagined doing. So for example, with tour buses, right? Like when I was hitchhiking through Eastern Europe, back in 2012, with my accordion and that, there's a lot of like big rest stops for tourist buses. So like, and like you would never believe how many tourist buses there are. Like even in America, there's a bunch, but just like throughout Europe, right? So for like in 2 hours, I was stuck at this one rest stop waiting for a ride, and like 20 tourist buses would show up like within 2 hours. Maybe not 20, but a lot, right? In some like rural area of Serbia, and they would all like go drink their coffee, whatever, eat their food, this and that, and then leave. And they would always just like leave all their garbage behind because it's Europe, and you know, in other places in the world, when you're buying something at an establishment, it's not expected of you to throw it away. And that's something I still stand by. I go eat here, and like I'm supposed to bust my own table? Like what? What am I paying you for? Like why am I paying $10 for a sandwich if I have to bust my own table? And that's just kind of like accepted here. But in Europe, it's like, no, we respect you as the customer. So anyway, they'll just leave their trash. And also in Europe, especially in France, but like when they're done eating, it just like goes in the trash. Like they could like not eat half of their sandwich, and like, no, it's done. And like leftovers aren't okay, you know, this kind of thing. So like I would have to.
There are no doggy bags. There's no takeout boxes. Like you eat it there or you leave it.
Especially in
You
France.
you don't take stuff home.
There's still like fast food, obviously. You can go get something,
Right.
you know, and it's like.
Or
in a
you can get it
wrapper.
to go from bakeries, à emporter. Yeah, you can get a sandwich to go. But if you're at a restaurant, especially, well, the portions that they give you are going to be smaller, so that it's so that you don't have leftovers as much either at restaurants, especially. But yeah, there are no takeout boxes. There's no doggy bags.
Yeah, and like France is really big into its gastronomy. So yeah, especially in France. But anyway, I was like in the wake of all these tour buses that leave all these sandwiches, so I didn't have to buy any food that day. Yeah, so yeah, they would just leave it. They'd be like nice, like ham and cheese sandwiches, like, and they would leave like half of them purely because they didn't want to bring it with them. And so they're all right, that's cool. Like I'm never sorry. But anyway, that's something that I never would have imagined doing when I was like your age, like 10 years ago. Yet there I was traveling on a budget, and they're perfectly good. It's not like the people were like, oh, all mangy. They were like clean people just on vacation in a tour bus, just wasting. And then that also made me realize, like, you know, there is a lot of waste in the world, in our parts of the world especially. And in some parts, it's like, I think here too, it's illegal to actually like use that waste for your own use. So for example, at Albertsons down there, they lock their trash in the back. Their big garbage like containers. They throw out produce every day. They'll throw out foods that are expired. And they're not expired meaning you can't eat them. They're expired by the store standards, meaning it's not going to be pretty anymore after this day. It's going to wilt like a normal piece of fruit or a normal vegetable like these things are, so they throw it away. They don't donate it anymore, they don't give it to the employees, they just throw it away. So there's movements all over the world, it's called dumpster diving, where at night you go to places like this that throw away their food and you just get it, and a lot of times it's still in a plastic. It's not like it's just in a gross dumpster, no, it's wrapped up, it's clean, and nothing happens to it. Watermelons, everything. And so in places like this, it's illegal to do that, and they actually lock it up. But there's more progressive communities, say in New York or all over France, where you're legally allowed to do that. And it
Did we watch
feeds a lot
the
of
video
homeless
yet
people.
about the French grocery stores? Oh my gosh, so they just passed the law in France, and I think it was a BuzzFeed video. I'll bring it up and show you guys tomorrow.
I love modernist classes.
Yeah, so they just passed a law in France that grocery stores can't throw away produce.
Mhm.
So it has to be donated, or they get fined, and up to like $5,000 if I remember right. So they can't throw away food. Same with restaurants. If there's food that they don't use, like they have to donate it. Like give it to a homeless person. Like open your doors after hours. Leave your food outside for people to come get for free. People who can't make ends meet and stuff. So it's a really cool movement. And they also have the ugly food movement. Did we talk about that last year? Oh, sorry guys. So all this stuff that I want to look up, I'll make a note of it. But they have an ugly food movement. It's just called les fruits moches, les légumes moches, and it's like the carrots that grow like 3 of them, or the like tomato that has a lump, or the like eggplant that's all like weird and stuff. And they sell them in different spots of the grocery store, but it's all discounted to like 80% off. It's because before they would throw all that stuff away and be like, oh, this is never gonna sell because it looks ugly. This tomato looks like it has a growth. And they would just throw it all away. Now that's not allowed anymore, and so they started selling it, and people are like, hey, I'm just gonna make a smoothie with it. It doesn't matter what it looks like, or we're using it for soup tonight. It doesn't matter what this looks like. I'm just gonna chop it up anyway and put it in a stir fry. It doesn't matter what it looks like, and people are getting a lot more used to seeing those kinds of defects, I guess, in their vegetables. And buying those too.
Yeah, and those defects are nature.
Are nature. They're
When you
just
don't
normal.
see defects, then you should be worried.
Yeah.
Like, they're like, why is this so beautiful and perfect? Like, that's not nature.
Yeah.
Nature is full of eccentricities, especially in the vegetables and fruits. But yeah, and especially in France, like a place that has thrived off its agricultural industry for forever. Like that's really a monumental thing because it helps the local farmers as well. Because il était une fois, they would not have been paid for those defective vegetables. They would have either kept them, or if they ended up making it to the store, would have been thrown away. So now there's actually incentive for farmers to continue more naturally. I think they banned Monsanto there too,
Yeah.
and GMOs. Yeah. Yes, over there.
Do you post like travel videos on YouTube, like vlogs or something?
Yeah, totally. I have a personal YouTube channel. I have a personal Snapchat. It's all for traveling stuff. And just kind of like my lifestyle. Like I do a lot of traveling still, but not like I used to. So I keep speaking about 2012 when I was hitchhiking through Europe. And at that time, I didn't do a vlog. I did a blog. But I didn't really keep updated and stuff because I was just trying to wander and like do whatever. But now when I go places, I go with a lot more intention. So I've started a music program in Jamaica, in rural Jamaica. I teach them music and we're helping them. This is a place with no internet. They have electricity, but just in the middle of nowhere where they don't really know what Instagram is, what YouTube is, and they have no idea that like the stuff they're working on, they could actually like share with the world. And they're really talented with their music and art. Because this is a place with very, very, very poor public education. So for a lot of them, if they want to have any chance of not being a farmer for the rest of their life, not even a farmer, just someone that lives in the middle of the countryside doing nothing, then they have to use the internet. So I've started a program there and I go back doing that, but I only go for like a month at a time. In Nepal, I was there for a while working on the film, but now as I get older, I'm trying to kind of take less wandering trips and more just like going somewhere, doing something like really powerful, and then like, okay, woo, you need to take a break and then leave. So I normally go for about a month, maybe 2 months. But yeah, I have a travel YouTube channel that is about, it's kind of evolving because when I started it was about the travels and it was about showing everyone what I'm up to, what I'm doing, and the people I'm meeting. But then it split off. And so one project I do now, which is kind of with my film, the Nepal film, called Perception Travel, and it's just about people. Because part of like why I love traveling is meeting people. As like the couch surfing shows and hitchhiking, just any way to meet people, I love it. Apps, I'm all about meeting people. And so I meet such cool people, I'm like, oh, the world needs to see you. So I started bringing a camera around, a DSLR camera, and just making videos of people. And so that is one of my travel vlogs. It's just people in new cities, new locations. And that's one of my projects. And then I have a personal one that's more about kind of like my lifestyle. So there is a lot about the traveling, but it's kind of about like, how do you make it work? Like, you know, when you're in a good routine, either with exercise, with homework, with what you're working with music, whatever it is, like, you know, you're feeling good. But when your routine's bad, or like you're transitioning, you know, or like school's over for the winter or the summer, and you kind of just like all this free time, and you don't know what to do, and you get bored, and this and that. That happens a lot, like when you live a life on the road, like me. So my YouTube channel is more about kind of like that. Like, what do I do every day to stay like excited and stimulated? Because every day is very different for me. So, but yeah, the travel is thrown into that, and I think as the world matures, as the human species kind of evolves with technology and this and that, the world is so accessible. Like, especially from LA, you're 12 hours from anywhere, maybe more than 12, but like, you're a plane flight away from anywhere. You know, you could leave for Nepal tonight and be there by Saturday, and that's literally across the world. Like, that's crazy if you think about it. So, it's getting cheaper, it's getting more accessible, and now that we have stuff like YouTube and Instagram, this and that, you can get followers, it's actually like a real possibility for people to make their living traveling. All you gotta do is have people that are interested in what you have to share. And so obviously you have to be creative in who you are and what you're sharing of yourself, but if you have 10,000 people that like what you're doing and they all gave you $1, like, that could last you a long time traveling cheaply. So I think the future of the world is heading in that direction, and I think that we're gonna meet a lot more people that travel, like you guys' age. As you come out of high school and college, you're going to be a lot more free, just naturally, because you know what's available to you. And that's cool. It's something I didn't have at 18 years old. So.
I was gonna ask, how do you travel, or do you come back here to make money and then go travel, or
so
do you make money on the road?
It's changed a lot over time. So it started in college, right? So I was still on student loans, whatever, and I traveled Western Europe, just that. And then in college, when I finished, I was working a full-time job, so I made a lot of money, and then I got a great tax return, and it lasted me like a year after I graduated college. But then after that, I was out of money, so I taught English in Thailand. For like $1,500, you can get a teaching English as a foreign language certificate, and you get a certificate. You just need a BA. And so then they hook you up with a job. You make approximately $1,000 per month, and accommodation included. So you can save some money, and the job is really relaxed. And I don't want to say easy, but it's a relaxed job, and it's really enriching, hanging out with little kids all day. It's so much fun. So I did that for about a year. Didn't like that. I liked it, but it wasn't for me for more than a year. And then I used my savings from that to just vagabond around Europe. That's when I was with the accordion and this and that. Then after that, I started doing my online business stuff more. So I make websites, I make promo videos for people. But a lot of what I do is without money. When I come back here, I make money just because people like to pay in cash. But a big part of how I travel, and what a lot of people can't get their heads around, is trading, bartering. I stay places for free. So when I couch surf, for example, and I'm staying on someone's couch, it's not just like, okay, cool, stay here, it's for free. It's like, no, you are trading kind of like a friendship, right? You're trading like company. You're hanging out, you're sharing stories, you're sharing maybe food that you have in your backpack or whatever. But now that like I go places for a month with a project, I try to find my own spot where I can have privacy. And to do that, I trade. So in Jamaica, how I got there originally was there's this volunteer websites I have where these organizations around the world are looking for help. So they said, oh, we're in rural Jamaica, we're looking for someone to help start our music program. So I was like, oh, cool. And in exchange, I didn't have to buy food, I didn't have to pay for rent, I didn't spend any money in a month. In fact, I kind of made some money, you know, like they gave me $100 per week for food and stuff, and I didn't spend all that. So, trading. I went to Bali, Indonesia a couple years ago, just because I wanted to go. I'd never been there, I didn't have like a mission, and I just sent an email to a guy like, hey, you have a cool like hostel. It's called a permaculture hostel, so they do farming, all about regenerating the environment while tourists are there staying. I was like, hey, cool hostel, looks like you could use a promo video. Can I come stay for a month and I'll make you a video? He's like, sure, come on by. So me and my friends stayed for free for a month, like just to make a video. And like the possibilities are endless. You just gotta be creative. But trade, it's a really big thing. And we come from a really privileged place. Like Santa Clarita, like it's pretty uppity up in the world. You may not realize it, and it's boring, I know. But like we have opportunities to learn a lot of things here. And this school district is really fortunate and blessed. Like we have a lot available to us. Just the fact that you guys can get this advanced in French, for example. I do a lot of video work. Like after this, I'm going down to D5 with the video program. That studio is crazy. Like it's crazy. Like all the equipment that's available, even the band stuff, right? Like this stuff is not available everywhere in the world. So the reason I can do what I do, traveling around, is because I come from a place like this, and I learned how to use a computer at a young age. I learned software. I learned music, this, that, and the other thing. So. Really take advantage, like the more skills you learn and take advantage of while you're in high school, and if college is for you, keep learning more stuff in college. Like after that, the world can literally be your oyster. You have a lot you can work with. You just have to be confident in it. So, yeah.
What's your favorite country that you visited?
I can never answer that because it's always based on the people I meet and the people I hang out with, and it like just pretty much gets better every time. I really like Nepal. The people are so friendly, and it's just designed for tourism. So if you go to Europe, right, like if you go to, like France, I consider just my second home. Because I love speaking French, and I've spent almost 2 years there cumulatively, and I just like it there. Even though it drives me crazy after a while, I like it there. But it's a lot like here, in the sense that you have running water all day, you have electricity, you have grocery stores, you have coffee shops, you have people that just like to hang out, and like, we don't have to do a lot for our survival. Sure, we need to work and make money, but like you can just go buy food at the grocery store. You go to a country like Nepal, which is a lot more poor, these people are working all day just to survive. Like money isn't even something they think about every day. Like they have to just do enough stuff on their farm and on their property and make sure the roof doesn't leak and, you know, milk the goats, whatever it is, make cheese, just to survive. So when you're entering that part of the world, it's a lot different than Europe and the States, or Australia. But as far as like the developing world goes, Nepal is really easy. It's kind of easy to be a part of because the people are really open and accepting, really friendly, and the tourism is just kind of laid out for you. And there's a lot of opportunity to help out. So it's called volunteerism. A lot of people go to Nepal. You can work at an orphanage, you can work at a school, whatever. They need all the help they can get. And sometimes they ask for payments from their volunteers. I disagree with that, just for my lifestyle. I understand why they ask it, but you know, they'll feed you, they'll put you up, and you can teach English to kids. It's great on a resume. It's great on a college app. It's great on anything, really. But yeah, Nepal lately, I would say, is one of my favorites. So, but France will always be there in my heart. So Mexico also, I really like Mexico. I think maybe coming from LA, there's just like this Latin American vibe, this Hispanic vibe that just kind of like has always resonated with me. I speak Spanish too. Spanish was really easy to learn after French, really easy. So if you ever get a chance, just do it. At Cal State Long Beach, if you major in a foreign language, you have to take 2 years, 4 semesters of another foreign language. Other schools, you have to do that and one other language that's not in the same family. So like I did 2 romance languages, so it was easy, like French and Spanish, okay, easy. I was even learning Italian for a while just because it was like easy, like why not? But other places you'd have to learn like Swedish or German or something that's not related at all.
Thai or
Thai, don't learn Thai, but yeah,
Japanese.
Chinese is good, Mandarin's great. I took a semester of Mandarin in college, but I know a lot of German too. I learned a lot of Albanian, I learned a lot of Thai while I was there, a lot of Nepali, but I don't learn to read and write. So I learned to read and write Spanish and French and English, but that's pretty much where it ended. Like, it's really easy to learn languages just by sound, just repeating things. And then if you're one of those people that likes language and grammar and like getting into it, which I am so like that, then you'll learn how the grammar works and it'll associate with the sound. And you'll learn that it's a lot easier to learn languages than it is to be in a classroom like this. However, in a classroom, you really learn the rules, you learn how to read and write, you learn these things that are really valuable that you may need one day. So it all just depends on your goals.
Thanks for not totally missing what I did.
No. Honestly, French is one of those things where I couldn't even imagine learning French without a classroom. Because just the way it sounds, it makes no sense. Like, it makes sense once you see it, you know, and you learn how it works. But once again, you can only get so deep learning by sound. If you really want to start, you know, getting into a culture and learning from its literature, watching its films, this and that, you have to study in the class.
Okay, we have a couple minutes left. Can we do an accordion show and tell?
Oh, yeah. Are there any more questions? Brief ones? Great. Here's your clip.
Because I was in class with them when